Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Crunch Time. I am your host, Moran. And wow, week 2 did not disappoint, although it's not over yet. It's been an amazing Sunday. So many remarkable games happened, and a remarkable performance happened. And I want to talk about it first. Now, Tua had a historic day. Tua threw for 469 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and led a 21-point fourth-quarter comeback against the Baltimore Ravens. They won 42-38. The only other Dolphins quarterback to have this type of performance was Dan Marino. The last 5 players that have thrown for 450 and 6 touchdowns have been Mahomes, Drew Brees, Big Ben, and Peyton Manning. So Tua is in some historic and remarkable company with the performance that we saw from him. Now, I know that I've been hypercritical of Tua, and he shut me up. It's as simple as that. There's nothing else that I can say. As soon as the fourth quarter started, he was having a rough game. He had thrown 2 picks. They were bad ones. And I was getting ready to run a victory lap and say, I told you about Tua. I told you he wasn't that good. Then the fourth quarter happened. And after that, I just, there's nothing else I can say. Drew caught a reaction of my face after Tua had thrown a 6 touchdown. And I'm there speechless. There's nothing I can say. Nothing I can say at all. Tua was remarkable. Now, I know that some people have still been hypercritical of Tua despite his 6 touchdown performance. But let's be honest. And this is the honest truth. In Tua's first 2 seasons, he's had no offensive line, a defensive-minded head coach who didn't like him, a plethora of offensive coordinators. In his second season, they had co-offensive coordinators. What other NFL team does that? And a receiving core who, for the most part, was led by Devontae Parker, who every single season is one of the worst separators at the receiver position in the NFL. This year is Tua's first season with weapons. I mean, deadly weapons. An offensive-minded head coach, Mike McDaniel, who believes in his skill set. An average offensive line. And in Tua's second game in that situation, he throws for 6 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. It's about time we stop being hypercritical about Tua and give him his credit. I think enough is enough. It's time to give Tua his credit. In Tua's first 2 seasons, he wasn't put in a position to truly succeed. And the first time that he's put in that situation, his second game, he throws 6 touchdowns. Now, I know the weapons are remarkable. Jalen Waddle, Tua, Mike Gesicki, Cedric Wilson. I mean, yeah, he has weapons. But he's going to have that for the next couple of years. Tyreek Hill isn't going anywhere. Jalen Waddle isn't going anywhere. Mike McDaniel isn't going anywhere. And as long as they're there, we can continue to expect Tua to play like a very good quarterback. It felt like this Sunday the NFL knew that I had these underlying agendas, one being the Tua thing, and then the second one being the Matt Ryan thing. Now, the Colts got shut out 24-0. It was embarrassing. And I have people tweeting at me, mentioning me, talk about Matt Ryan, talk about Matt Ryan. Oh, Matt Ryan's washed. He's cooked. He's this, he's that. Did Matt Ryan play well? No. He threw 3 interceptions. There's no excuses. He didn't play well. But the Colts' problems are more than just Matt Ryan. And after the game finished, I was thinking about it. Because the Colts' problems last year were more than just Carson Wentz. And is it possible that Carson Wentz got the short end of the stick, got all the blame? In his first 2 games in Washington, he's looked pretty solid. And in Washington, he has weapons. Jahan Dotson, McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, an offensive line that's average at the least, some good running backs, a good head coach in Ron Rivera. He has surrounding parts. Indianapolis, I look at their team, and it's deteriorating. Their starting wide receivers on Sunday were Ashton Doolin, Paris Campbell, and Desmond Patman. That's worse than what the Bears have right now. That's the worst receiving group in football. Outside of Michael Pittman, the Colts have the worst receiving room in football. The right side of their offensive line is good. The left side is an absolute disaster. And they brought Gus Bradley in as a defensive coordinator who has been with the new team for the past couple of seasons because the teams don't think he's done a good enough job. Their defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, got a head coaching job in Chicago, deservedly so. When he got to Indy, the Colts were one of the worst defenses in the NFL. He turned them into one of the better units in football. He leaves to Chicago. Gus Bradley comes into Indy. The defense in back-to-back weeks against the Texans and the Jaguars, two teams that were one of the worst teams in the NFL last year, have completely shit on his defense, on Gus Bradley's defense. The talent is there. The scheme is exposing these players. And offensively, what is Matt Ryan supposed to do when he has three receivers that on any other football team would be the fourth or fifth best receiver on those teams? They might not even make the team, and they're starting. Jonathan Taylor can't get going in the run game because the offensive line is overrated. They have holes. Is Matt Ryan old? Yes. Is his arm half of what it used to be? Yes. But is Matt Ryan the problem in Indianapolis? I don't think so. The problem in Indy is that they have not been able to situate the quarterback position for the last 5 years. It's been a constant change and there is no continuity. That's why the Colts get off to these slow starts. Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, and now Matt Ryan. That's 5 quarterbacks starting on opening day in the last 5 seasons. And in neither of those years have the Colts drafted a quarterback in the first round. They have not. In that span, the Colts have drafted 2 quarterbacks, Jacob Eason and Sam Ehlinger. Neither quarterback that were high-level prospects. The Colts have a quarterback problem. The Colts have a quarterback problem and have not addressed it yet. Matt Ryan is a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. The Colts are known to start slow. I think they'll pick it up. But their quarterback situation, having Matt Ryan fill in for Carson Wentz, it's a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. It's glue on a crack. And eventually, the whole thing is going to tear apart. I know the Colts are going to get the headline in all this because they did get shut out, but I want to credit Jacksonville. What I've seen from Trevor Lawrence these past 2 weeks has been otherworldly, and his rookie tape showed flashes of this. He had great pocket presence. He made big-time throws that were dropped by his receivers, and they still are dropped by his receivers, but Trevor Lawrence, my oh my. After these 2 weeks, I'm coming away thinking, there aren't 10 quarterbacks that I take right now over Trevor Lawrence. You might think I'm overreacting, but I'm not. These are the only quarterbacks I take over Trevor Lawrence right now. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Deshaun Watson. That's 8 quarterbacks. And with Tom Brady, I probably would take Trevor Lawrence over Tom Brady just because of the age factor. Right now, I would take Trevor Lawrence over Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, and the list goes on. You might be saying that's crazy, but it's not. Trevor Lawrence is that good. Disappointments of Sunday, the last segment on Crunch Time. The Cowboys beat the Bengals 20-17, and Cooper Rush led a game-winning drive in his second start. He now has 2 game-winning drives in his 2 starts. He played well, but Micah Parsons dominated the game. Micah Parsons has 4 sacks in 2 games. He's the front runner for DPOY, in my opinion. That was my DPOY pick and bet. I bet on him to win the award. Micah Parsons is rare. He's one of those guys that he can dominate a game defensively. He single-handedly won the Cowboys that game against Cincinnati. The way he was able to make Joe Burrow uncomfortable the entire game, the Bengals really couldn't stick to their offensive game plan and what they had scheduled. Micah Parsons, it didn't matter where he lined up. Against Jonah Williams, he dominated. Against La'el Collins, he dominated. The Bengals tackle problem, it's hard to really say if it's a problem because in back-to-back weeks, you face TJ Watt and then Micah Parsons, two of the best in the game, and they get absolutely wrecked. Now, the Bengals, there's no excuses for this loss. The Cowboys don't have Dak Prescott. The Bengals should win this game. Although I think Joe Burrow played well in this game, I don't think it was entirely his fault. The defense also played well. This is one you just have to pull out. Joe Burrow had a chance to lead the Bengals down the field and score. He did not. The Bengals punt. The Cowboys, they score because they were led by Cooper Rush, and he leads them down the field to now kick a field goal. The Cowboys season is not over. And I know that last week I said it was over. It's not over. They're 1-1 right now. The next 3 games are the New York Giants, the Rams, and the Commanders. They can go 1-2 or 2-1 in those games. And now Dak Prescott comes back. Their season is far from over. And I don't know why I jumped the gun so quick on the Cowboys because their schedule is fairly easy. And they can win those games. And with Cooper Rush and how he played, they can definitely win those games. Another disappointment on Sunday was Nathaniel Hackett's coaching. I thought, yet again, he looked outcoached. He looked overwhelmed. Let's be honest. What are Hackett's credentials to be a head coach outside of coaching Aaron Rodgers? He has none. Versus Seattle, his clock management skills were poor. And now versus the Texans, out of 10 drives, the Broncos punted 5 times. With the weapons they have, with Russell Wilson completed below 50% of his passes. Nathaniel Hackett's clock management again was an issue. The Broncos had 0 timeouts with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Think about that. Multiple times, the Broncos had to call timeout because they weren't in the right formation. It was 4th down. The Texans were getting ready to punt. The Broncos didn't have a punt returner out there. They had to call a timeout because of that. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, I know it might be reactionary, but after 2 weeks, he's not a good head coach. He looks worse than Adam Gase out there. I know. I experienced Adam Gase firsthand with the New York Jets. Hackett doesn't look like a good coach, and he's going to hold back the Denver Broncos. This is a Broncos team that it's a first-time head coach, first-time OC, first-time DC, and first-time special teams coordinator. When in the history in the NFL has that ever worked? It hasn't. I think this is a concerning part of the Broncos. And unfortunately, another one of my disappointments is Trey Lance's injury. He suffered an ankle injury. He's now out for the year. And I hope Trey Lance gets better. This was just an awful way to, start the 4 o'clock games. Trey Lance getting hurt. He was carted off the field. I hope he gets better. I was expecting big things out of Trey Lance this year. And now there's just more pressure on him. And I think it's unfair to him. This is a guy who next year is going to be coming into a starting role, not having really played football in 3 years. That's tough for anybody in any situation. But shout out to Jimmy Garoppolo for being a veteran, waiting for his time, and when it came, answering the call. They beat the Seahawks 27-7. That was an amazing moment. But Trey Lance, I hope he gets better. But those were my disappointments for Sunday. Obviously, I think week 2 was headlined by Tua's 6 touchdowns. After all the disrespect thrown on his name, he comes out and puts on an absolute show. That was an amazing moment. What was your biggest takeaway, your favorite moment from week 2 of NFL Sunday? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.